Mike?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On March 7th, 2020, Governor Cuomo declared a disaster emergency in the state of New York due to the outbreak of the novel coronavirus or COVID-19. Pursuant to Governor Cuomo's subsequent executive order 202.1 dated March 12, 2020, as extended most recently by Executive Order 202.60. Today's meeting of the Finance Committee of the Dormitory Authority of the State of New York, or DASNY, is being conducted telephonically and by video conference. Executive Order 202.1, as extended, provides in relevant part that Article 7 of the Public Officers Law, known as the Open Meetings Law, is suspended through October 4th, 2020, to the extent necessary to permit any public body to meet and take such actions authorized by the law without permitting in-person access to meetings and authorizing such meetings to be held remotely by conference call or similar service, provided that the public has the ability to view or listen to such proceeding and that such meetings are recorded and later transcribed. In the President's August 28, 2020 transmittal memorandum, it is noted that staff anticipated the extension of Executive Order 202.1 to encompass today's Finance Committee meeting. For the record, I'd like to confirm that Governor Cuomo signed Executive Order 202.60, dated September 4th, 2020, continuing the extension of the suspension of the Open Meetings Law for an additional 30-day period through and including October 4th, 2020. The location of today's conference call and video conference meeting of the DASNY Finance Committee is designated as the DASNY headquarters, 515 Broadway, Albany, New York, where I and several other members of the DASNY team are located. Notice of this meeting has been posted in the standard locations that are publicly accessible. Notice has also been prominently posted on the DASNY.org public website in accordance with EO 202.1 as extended and the DASNY bylaws. An audio and video recording of this meeting will be accessible from DASNY's website, www.dasny.org, not later than 2 business days after the close of this meeting, and today's proceedings will also be transcribed and posted as soon thereafter as is reasonable and practicable under the circumstances. I will now turn the meeting over to my colleagues who will conduct a roll call. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Mike. With us today, we have the following Finance Committee members: Jerry Romsky, Committee Chair; Al Carney, Committee Member; Tracy Rowley, Committee Member; John Johnson, Board Member; Joan Sullivan, Board Member; and we have Patrick Ryan, representing DOB, Board Member.
Thank you, Kimberly.
Thank you.
Mr. Romsky?
Jerry, you might have us on mute.
We know he either is or was there, so we'll wait for him to get back on.
Hello? I did.
Yeah, Jerry.
You're right, Mike. Mike, you said Jerry put us on mute, and I said to myself, I did not put myself on mute, but I did put myself on mute. So I apologize for that. So I was chatting away there to myself. Had a very nice conversation, but I'll start it over again. So good afternoon, and welcome to the DASNY Finance Committee meeting for the month of September 2020. First up on the agenda is the adoption of the meeting minutes from the July meeting of the Finance Committee. Can I please get a motion to approve those meeting minutes?
So moved.
Thank you, Tracy. Al, second. Thank you, Al. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I have not heard any opposed, so that motion carries. We'll be reviewing 2 resolutions today. First up Matt is going to present the PIT sales tax revenue bond program offering. Take it away, Matt. Thank you very much.
Thank you and good afternoon, everyone. The Finance Committee is being asked to recommend to the full board an authorization for the issuance of multiple series of tax-exempt and/or taxable fixed and/or variable rate bonds issued at one or more times with a term of 30 years and an amount not to exceed $3 billion under either the sales tax revenue bond program and/or the personal income tax revenue bond program. Although at this time, the current plan is to issue under the personal income tax revenue bond program. Bonds are being issued for new money and refunding purposes, and the new money portion includes projects that have been vetted by the Division of Budget with a priority on health and safety, and will be for the following authorized purposes: capital projects for CUNY, capital projects for the Office of Mental Health, the Office for People with Developmental Disabilities, and the Office of Addiction Services and Supports. In addition, bonds will be issued for transportation initiatives for the New York Works Transportation Infrastructure Projects Program, dedicated highway and bridge trust fund projects, capital projects for SUNY, capital projects for the upstate community colleges, projects for the MTA transportation facilities, funding various environmental initiatives, funding for state and municipal facilities grants, or SAM grants, funding for various economic development projects and/or grants, funding for healthcare grants, and funding for both educational programs as well as library facilities. And at this time, Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to reflect on the projects for CUNY, SUNY, what we call the O agencies, which is OPWDD, OMH, and OASIS, MTA, and the transportation initiatives for the New York Works infrastructure projects, as well as the dedicated highway and bridge trust fund. Together, these 6 buckets, they comprise over 80% of the total new money project list. And when you look at the projects, especially for CUNY, SUNY, and the O agencies, these are made up of various upgrades and building repairs, including masonry, windows, doors, interior and exterior upgrades, asbestos abatement, doors, windows, and roofs, as well as a lot of focus on mechanical, electrical, plumbing, air handling units, boilers, various upgrades to fire suppression systems, sprinklers, fire alarms, HVAC, boilers, and telecommunication systems. On the MTA side, this is part of a larger pre-approved plan where the state does have appropriations for MTA spending already in place. In addition, on the transportation initiatives for New York Works infrastructure projects, as well as the dedicated highway and bridge trust fund, these are certainly important projects for roads, highways, and bridges. And I just want to stress the importance of these projects. And again, they have been vetted by the Division of Budget with a priority on health and safety. In addition to those new money projects, the authorization looks to cover the refunding of certain bonds issued under various state-supported debt programs of approximately $170 million. And the refunding component is certainly relatively small as compared to the new money side of things. The security provisions under the personal income tax revenue bond program will be that the bonds will be paid by the semi-annual payments made pursuant to the financing agreement between DASNY and the state. The bonds are secured by a set-aside of 50% of personal income tax revenues collected pursuant to statute and 50% of the receipts of the employer compensation expense tax, with both taxes deposited in the revenue bond tax fund. The current debt service coverage on all outstanding state personal income tax bonds is 6.8 times, and the proposed bonds are expected to be rated AA1, AA+, and AA+. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Matt. Any questions or concerns? I mean, I think, Matt, that maybe just it's pretty common knowledge about the budget issues that the state is facing. So maybe you can just sort of take us through that, if you could.
Yeah, there have been obviously recent reports of the decrease in revenues. This has been noted in both reports that the Division of Budget has put out, as well as the Controller's Office. Revenues are down, but once again, these projects are certainly important to the state. The state has vetted these, again, with a priority on health and safety.
And Matt, it's Al. I was off the call for a few minutes. I don't quite know what happened. I got lost in the ether, I guess. But you probably have put this on the record already. I've had a chance to talk with you briefly and with Portia. I understand that it is staff's view that while the not to exceed number is $3 billion, we don't expect to get far beyond $2.6 billion. Is that still the case? It's been a week since I talked about it with anybody.
Yeah, based on current information, in the staff report, we have estimated the new money sizing at $2.765 billion. That is on the high side. Recent reports indicate that the size of the new money will be closer to $2.4 billion. And then you add in 2.4 for the new money, and then adding in the refunding and cost of issuance would get you to about 2.6.
And the Sandra question, I guess, I'm sure it's in the summary somewhere. But how does she ask it? The maturity of the refunding bonds will not exceed the final maturity of the bonds that are being refunded. And then you all put that little phrase at the end that I never understand.
Right.
Considered in the aggregate.
Right. It says the refunding bonds will not exceed the fiscal year of the final maturity of the bonds being refunded, considered in the aggregate.
It's that considered in the aggregate that I never can understand, Matt. You've explained it to me before. I just can't seem to hold on to it. I can't grasp it.
You know, it's a way of being able to take savings and use the 30 years from when they were initially issued to the extent possible allowed under tax law. What happens with the savings analysis, basically the savings are taken in the first couple of years, and there are, slight dis-savings in the later years. But it is a way of especially taking prior payments that were made January, February, or even before, and now the new debt service payments will be March 15th. So it's just a way that the state works with their advisors, and we're able to maximize the savings from the state's perspective.
So Al, just, take into consideration that to the extent that there are more than one series of bonds being refunded, the considered in the aggregate speaks to that in terms of being able to go to the final maturity of the bonds being refunded, considered in the aggregate. I
see, Portia. Thank you. You have probably told me that 15 or 16 times, and I apologize that I can't. I need to hear it. I don't grasp that very easily, and I apologize to you for that.
No worries.
You all have also talked about the absolute necessity. I was off the call, so I don't know what's on the record. The absolute necessity of these services. We're balancing equities here. We're looking at budget gaps and terrific state budget issues, but we're also looking at the absolute necessity of the services that would be offered to thousands and thousands and thousands of people in the state of New York. I counted them. There are 14, including the refunding. So there are 13 projects and the one refunding. These are essential services. We have certainly provided funding for some of these, most of these projects or projects from these agencies. I just want to make sure the record reflects that staff's view is, as it has always been, and appropriately so, that these are essential services, and that this debt is whatever it turns out to be, Matt, 2426 with refunding, that these are essential and that staff strongly recommends.
Yes, Alan, and if you did miss it, what I was speaking to is that, the projects have been vetted by the Division of Budget. The priority is on health and safety. These are, what are viewed as very important projects. Especially, I walked through some of the projects on the CUNY, the SUNY, and the what we call the O agencies, OPWDD, OASIS, and OMH. And these really include things, fire suppression systems, fire alarms, HVACs, boilers, air handling units, asbestos abatement, as well as just keeping these buildings up to the condition that they need to be in order to serve the populations that they serve.
Thank you very much, Matt. My final comment, Joan picked this up, and Joan's on the phone, so did I, and I've talked to Mike Cusack about it. I'll walk through that quickly. The bond counsel letter, which is excellent, actually, it's a terrific piece of work, in the first paragraph could be misread to suggest that there's a $6 billion opportunity out there. I think you have to read it in a void to reach that conclusion, but I think it's possible to reach that conclusion. The second page of the bond counsel letter, however, makes it absolutely clear, in my view, and I hope in Mike's view, that this is a $3 billion in the aggregate proposed financing. And Mike, you and I have talked about it. I won't speak for you, but I'm comfortable that we can we don't have to have bond counsel revise the letter in order to go forward with the letter as it is written.
That's correct, Al. I'm very comfortable with the letter in its current form. I think it's very clear that there's a limitation overall of $3 billion on this authorization.
So, Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, I don't know that I had any questions in there, but I certainly had a few comments. Thank you for letting me talk on and on and on. I don't have any further questions.
And
Tracy, anything? Go ahead, Portia.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, no, this is Tracy. I would just comment I heard the intended, while the flexibility is there for, can you hear me okay? I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
The flexibility is there for both, personal income tax and sales tax. The intent is for personal income tax.
That's correct.
And so, and the debt service coverage on that, if I heard that correctly, was 6.8.
6.8.
And that's based on current projections of.
That's the snapshot as of 3/31/2020. That's the last time they officially calculate that.
Okay.
So this is John Johnson following up on that. So is anybody done an informal calculation as to what the snapshot would show if the personal income tax revenues are falling at the level that they appear to be according to the controller?
The projection for 3/31/21 is a coverage ratio of 5.5, and that is included in the first quarterly update that's provided by the Division of Budget.
And John, one thing that I would note is that, the controller's number that he was citing in terms of reductions in PIT revenues is aligned with what was in the budget Division of Budget's first quarterly update. So, we're tracking the same numbers in terms of reductions in PIT revenues. And Matt just spoke to the projected coverage. So, the credit is very robust.
Yep.
Thank you, Portia.
Yep.
Portia, when do you think these bonds go to market?
Early October.
Okay. Thank you. I don't know who else is on the line, but feel free to join in and ask any questions or comments or concerns that you might have, if any of the board members on the line.
Jerry, the other board members online, we'll just ask this to make it easier for you. Joan Sullivan, do you have any questions?
I don't. That was a very thorough explanation. Thank you very much.
Okay, we got John Johnson. I think that's it for board members.
Okay, thanks very much. Okay, any other questions, concerns? If not, I'm going to ask for motion to recommend approval at tomorrow's full board.
It's Al. I'll recommend approval.
Okay. Okay, so I have a second, so I guess we're going to ask for a, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries. Thank you very much for all and for your thorough presentation. Hopefully it will all work out, and that leads us on to the next matter, which is the Greenberg Union Free. Is it Union Free? I don't have my notes in front of me, Portia, but it's Greenberg School District.
Yes, it is Union Free.
And Union Free, and Gerard is going to present that one. Please, Gerard, proceed. Thank you very much.
Sure. Good afternoon, everybody. Chairmans, members of the Finance Committee, and DASNY senior staff. The staff report provided to the members for the resolution to proceed presents a 20-year bond issue in an amount not to exceed $8,685,000 on behalf of the Greenberg 11 Union Free School District. The district is located in Dobbs Ferry, New York. The district resides on the grounds of the Children's Village, a renowned residential treatment center, and services approximately 140 emotionally disabled students. The district was established in 1928. The proposed bond issue will be fixed and or variable rate, tax exempt and or taxable Series 2020 bonds with a term not to exceed 20 years, as expected to be sold through a private placement to Nuveen Investments and Victory Capital Management, both of whom are QUIBs. The bonds will not be rated, and the institution does not have an underlying rating. The security package includes a standby intercept of state operating aid, assignment of Part 1 tuition and building aid, and leasehold interest and other real property interests required by the purchasers. The project consists of repairs and replacement, construction, which includes wall systems, windows, and roof replacement, a new fire alarm system, renovation of existing space, drainage repair, HVAC, plumbing repairs, and building security renovations. This will be the 8th issuance for the Special Act school districts. 7 series of bonds were previously issued. 3 series of those bonds remain outstanding. Greenberg 11 was a participant in a 1998 transaction. Their bonds have been fully retired and redeemed. They currently have no bonds outstanding, Greenberg 11. The State Education Department and the Division of Budget have approved financing in the amount not to exceed $8,685,000. Accordingly, staff recommends the board adopt a resolution to proceed with a 20-year bond issue in an amount not to exceed $8,685,000 on behalf of the Greenberg 11 Union Free School District. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much, Gerard. Any questions or concerns from anyone?
None here, sir.
Yep. This is Tracy. I just had a question.
Tracy?
I just wondered, out of curiosity, it doesn't affect the, the credit. Just how often these are done as private placements?
Our last transaction, I think it was a private placement, Tracy.
Is it? Yeah.
Was 16.
Yeah. Okay.
4 years ago.
Yeah.
So our initial issuance was 1990, and it seems like every few years they've happened, but 2016 was the most recent transaction.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
No, sir, I'm fine. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Can I please get a motion to recommend approval at tomorrow's full board?
Make a motion.
Oh, yeah. Thank you,
Tracy.
I second.
Second now. Thank you. All in favor, aye. Aye.
Aye.
Hearing none, that motion carries. So thank you very much. Unless I'm missing something and my memory is not what it was. I think that concludes today's finance meeting. And I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That'll be none. So that motion carries. And I wanted to thank everyone for...
It's Al Carney.
I apologize for being
Al Carney.
there.
Could I ask the members to, this is a non-finance committee related thing I'd like to make sure you all have seen. Mr. Chairman, now that we're out, that we've